Are the gods still effective? Who are the gods? Where did they come from? Where are the gods when we suffer? What happens to the power of the gods if we abandon them? Let's look at the power of the gods is real. Who are the gods? Are the gods still around us? Yes and no. If you go to page 55 of our book, Free from God, you realize that there are sections where we deal with common attributes of the divinities or the gods. 10 of them are given, and of those 10, 5 methods in which the divinities can be invoked and revered, including rare telepathic confirmation, is given. This comes from the perspective of understanding that the gods are the self-generated pre-universal forces that also are involved and engaged in the creation of the universe. We want to deal with this because Free from God is the best book that explains, using a metaphysical perspective as well as a spiritual scientific way, the issue of the power of the gods. What happens to the power of the gods if it is real? What we understand is that we should define what is the gods. You have to go into our melanin dominant culture. In the Shona society and Chikaranka society, Bantu society, Nguni society, the gods are the Mondoro. This emanates right across the family spirits, the local Mondoro, the tribal Mondoro, intertribal Mondoro, up to the national or in the racial Mondoros. There are many of them. But what happens to their power? Because the gods dwell close to what we know as the infinity. What is infinity? Infinity is something that is endless and boundless. And beyond this endless and boundless, that's where the not a spirit and not a being creator exists. We say he exists or she exists or it exists beyond the Hazim Mukaha, and the gods dwell below the Hazim Mukaha and interact with humanity and all things. Though the final answer in what happens to the power of the gods when we abandon them depends on your will and your soul and how you apply the knowledge that you have to the realities that you have. If you come to ancient Africa, you find zones where we find the knowledge of the gods. Prior to 10,000 BCE, all these places that are shown here, specifically Africa, was called the Holy Land. That's why there was a red line to protect this Holy Land from invasion by the people of the north. We are showing here this, the cursor is moving across that, and all this which was on the southern part, where the Namu, the Asiatic, were not allowed to come and dwell. There was harmonious beings. They were harmonious beings living in paradise conditions and higher consciousness in the last glacial period, 10,000 years BCE, right up to the Aboriginal land. The Tamahu were not allowed anywhere to cross this land, and today they have besmirched and arrived, and they are in every other sphere. So we want to give examples of the places and the vortexes and the points where the gods expressed their communication telepathically to the communities that were there. One of the most important places is the Matopo Hills, the holy hill of Matopo. You can see it's now derelict. There's a reason for that. You shall find it very soon. When the Europoids, Cecil John Ross, learned about it, that the Matopo is where the gods and the spirit of the lion, the Mondoro spirit, dwelled, they decided to lock the place by getting Cecil John Ross buried in there. And his remains are still there, and the governments of Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, and Lesotho, they don't want to have anybody telling them to remove Cecil John Rhodes from Matopos. They will fight you, incarcerate you, and prosecute you. So they've locked that place. What happens then to this power? Let's answer this a little bit. In the vast majority of cases, nothing or very little, because the deities and the gods and ancient deities and ancient divinities and gods do not and never did draw their power from being worshipped or remembered by mere humans. That's very important. The body, yes, is the temple of the divinities of the God. But if you receive Jesus, if you are a Muslim, if you are a Jew, if you are ambivalent towards the gods, you have another spirit. If you are an atheist, you have another spirit. If you have added another closure spirit, you have received a closing spirit on your own spirit. Therefore, you are limited from accessing those that dwell close to the infinity, the gods. Person's soul consists of 9 separate parts, which we are showing here. We have dealt with these parts. They are integrated into one whole individual with distinct aspects. The car, which is your human spirit, is the most powerful entity that you can ever have in terms of dealing with the third dimension. You do not need another spirit. The car can take care of you and can pull you closer to the divinities, to the infinity, if you do not let it go to sleep. So, what happens to the power of the gods if you abandon them? Nothing, because the power of the gods is inherent in who and what they are. The gods and the goddesses use the laws of creation, founded the universe, the Milky Way, as well as the stars and our earth. The gods are self-generated from the potential waters of Nyunyu. Read our book, Free from God. It explains that. So the galaxy which you boast of is just like a little speck of the known universe at the moment. Where the earth is and the sun, tiny little thing, it's invisible really. You can't see it. But your consciousness and your soul understands all this, understands almost the whole universe. Our ancestors taught all this about dimensions that were created by the gods and other universes. A lot of other universes. There is not one universe, it's a multiverse. The righteous gods do not interfere without invitation in your life. Only evil spirits, aliens, lost souls, religious spirits, pretending souls that come to pretend to you that they are your ancestor and make you sick first, or ill and disaster. Woe to them, because they are forcing you to allow them to ride your soul, to come and dwell inside you, because the body is the temple of the divinity, the temple of the soul. So they want to come and dwell in you. Religions that causes you to be converted. Why should you be converted? Why should you be changed? Islam wants you to be changed. These are colonial spirits. These are colonial religions. You can see by their actions. Any religion that caused your colonization, enslavement, and destruction of your civilization is not an African spirit. This includes even the Nation of Islam. They never teach about enslavement by Muslims. They only talk about other religions like Christianity. So once you convert to these religions, you cannot expect the power of the real, original, natural gods to guide and to give you power in your life. We learn also from the Hermetica prophecy about the gods and their power. For the gods who return from earth to heaven, Hamit, which is Africa, and the realms that we have shown, will be forsaken. And the land which was once the home of religion will be left desolate, bereft of the presence of the deities. A grievous thing indeed, because evil spirits like Apopipa, Shatter, who rule with terror and evil on the earth, will mingle with men and drive the poor wretches by main force into all manner of reckless crime, into wars and robberies and frauds and things that are hostile to the nature of your soul. So anything that is hostile to the nature of your soul, like false beliefs, not living according to Mahati, Ubuntu religion, philosophy, hating, wars, killing, all that is the drive that is driving your body, which is an animal body, to do what is evil. In ancient Hamid, polarity of the duality of good and evil was known as the polarity and the fight between Horesu and Shatter. And Shatter was inspired by Apophis, and Horesu inspired by Mahati. So Horesu are the forces of light, of good, and the Shatter, the forces of chaos, disaster, evil, and everything that is destructive. So you need to know that your soul can choose to follow Shatter or Horesu. So since the gods now dwell largely in other realms, dimensions, in the aspects of nature and cosmos itself, the contents of their existence at the moment, according to them, is far beyond us. If we stop worshipping and remembering them, they will mostly stop paying attention to us and continue their mysterious ways of life without interruption. To reverse this trend, you must build an altar. You must remember Matopos, which was a continental altar, which was the source of power. You must understand that in the third dimension, we've got portals, so-called black holes by scientists, into the fourth dimension and fifth dimension. And that the sixth dimension is the end of the physical realm, of physical universe. And beyond that, into the seventh, we are into the non-physical realm, into the multiverse, not one universe. So your altar is a center of power that you can use to call and find your ancestors through the black holes right into the dimensions they exist, from the fifth to the sixth. You need an altar in your home. We need a national altar, and we know the power of altars. The gods and their presence will gradually lessen from the earth as humans lessen their attention to their temples and their holy sites and their statues they left. Even great rivers, vortexes of power, will become polluted, and the Happy or Nile River is dying. It's being killed by us. This was foretold by our sages and our teachers, and it's happening today. So what happens to the power of the gods? If you think that the gods are powerless, or they lose power because you do not worship them, as modern people think it's a fantasy, it's a sad, apophis fiction, it's not a real spirituality or truism. It is us who loses power if we decide not to venerate the divinities. Because the reality is that words and theories are not the reality itself. It is only pictures and images and symbols and ideas that are powerful, and the most beneficial technology that has been hidden from you, which is right in your consciousness, for you to regain an eternal and divine foothold and a mental foothold to hold experience and be creative without measure when you receive the power of the gods. Let us search for this power, and let us know that this power is there. If you want to learn more about this, and if you want to connect to your righteous ancestors and to the divinities, do not hesitate to send us an email on join@marifado.com. Subscribe to our channel, Hamiti Iburu Ethics. Till we meet again, let us remember that Marifado helps melanin dominant human beings reclaim their spiritual and physical heritage, as well as their true identity with the divinities. Till we meet again, Tatenda, Siabonga, have a great day. Ameni.